Hi. So tonight we are going to talk about something that can be surprisingly difficult to explain: the fear of being happy. Not necessarily the obvious kind where someone says, I am scared of happiness. It can be much quieter than that. This is also something I have been struggling for a very long time, for as long as I remember things as child. And only now I'm trying to understand my own pattern. So you get some good news, and instead of enjoying it, your mind immediately starts looking for what could go wrong. Someone tells you they love you, and a little part of you think, okay, but for how long? You finally have a peaceful week and you almost become suspicious about it. Everything is going too well. Something must be coming. Or maybe you're simply sitting somewhere having a lovely time, laughing, eating something you like, doing absolutely nothing productive, and suddenly a tiny voice inside says, shouldn't I be doing something? Did I forget something? Or am I wasting my time? Or if is everyone else okay? And even happiness requires administrative clearance. And maybe you have lived like this for so long that you don't even notice you're doing it. You don't exactly reject happiness, you just inspect it very carefully before allowing it inside. So, tonight I want to talk about why this can happen, especially when somewhere early in life you learn that being a good girl meant being easy to manage, helpful, polite, not too angry, not too demanding, not too loud, not selfish, not difficult, and very, very aware of how everyone else was feeling. Maybe nobody ever sat you down and said, your job is to keep everybody happy. Sometimes nobody needs to. Children learn from reactions. You ask for something and someone looks disappointed. You say no and someone calls you stubborn. You get angry and are told good girls don't behave like that. You give something up for someone else and everyone praises you. What a good girl. And slowly, your young mind begins collecting roots. Being loved means being agreeable. Being good means not upsetting people. Being kind means saying yes. Being mature means needing less. And happiness? Well, happiness is fine as long as nobody is inconvenienced by it. If any of this sounds familiar, you don't need to analyze your entire childhood tonight. Please don't. It is bedtime, so there will be no investigation committee formed under the duvet. We are simply going to notice a few patterns and perhaps loosen them a little. You don't have to fix anything tonight, so just listen. And if you fall asleep, you have my full permission to miss the conclusion. Sometimes being good quietly becomes being afraid. There is nothing wrong with teaching a child to be kind. Kindness matters. Thinking about other people matters. Learning that our actions have consequences matters. But there is a difference between learning other people's feelings matter and learning other people's feelings are my responsibility. Those are two different lives. In the first life, you can be considerate. In the second, you're constantly scanning the room. Is she upset? Did he misunderstand me? Why my was my tone rude? Should I have said that differently? Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it. Perhaps I should apologize. Did he think I was showing off? Was I too confident? Was I too quiet or too friendly or not friendly enough? So you can leave a completely normal conversation and conduct a full performance review on yourself. Why approval feels so powerful? Human beings are very sensitive to acceptance. It makes sense. For most of our history, belonging to other people wasn't just emotionally pleasant, it helped us survive. So, being disliked, rejected, or excluded can feel much bigger inside the body than the situation seems to deserve. And for a child, this is even more important. Children depend on adults. So, a clever young mind pays close attention to what keeps connections safe. Maybe in your home that meant being useful, doing well in school, never answering back, looking after younger siblings, not complaining, being the sensible one, or just keeping the peace. And if one of those strategies brought love, praise, or simply less conflict, of course you kept using it, and it worked. That is important. People pleasing is not always foolishness. Sometimes it began as intelligence. You discovered if I anticipate what everyone needs, things stay calmer. If I don't ask for too much, nobody gets annoyed. If I perform well, people are pleased with me. If I am helpful, I have a place here. The problem comes much later. When the child who needed those strategies grows into an adult who no longer knows how to turn them off. Now, nobody has asked you to keep everyone happy, but you're still working the shift, and there are no weekends when you do that. So, when goodness becomes perfection, this is where being good can slowly turn into being relentlessly critical of yourself. You aren't simply trying to do something well. You're trying to remove every possible reason anyone could criticize you. So you send an email, you read it again, change one sentence, again change it back, remove the exclamation mark, put it back. Now it looks too enthusiastic, so you remove it again, and eventually the email says thanks. It took 23 minutes. This is the strange thing about perfectionism. It often looks like very high standards, but underneath it can be fear. If I do everything correctly, perhaps nobody can be disappointed. Perhaps nobody can criticize me. Or perhaps nobody can leave. And perhaps I can finally relax. But perfection never gives that permission. Because there is always something else you could improve, something you could have phrased differently, a better choice you could have made, someone who might not approve. And so the finish line moves again and again. So then happiness itself starts feeling risky. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, don't get too excited, don't celebrate yet, don't tell people, something could happen, don't become too proud, or good things never last. Or perhaps nobody said any of those things. Maybe life taught you instead. Something wonderful happened and then something painful followed. You trusted somebody and you got hurt. You finally felt settled and something changed. For once, you celebrated too early and were disappointed. The mind is very good at finding patterns. Sometimes it finds real ones, and sometimes it creates rules from coincidences. But either way, it remembers. So now, when something beautiful happens, one part of you enjoys it, and another part stands at the door saying, careful. People actually differ in how comfortable they feel with positive emotions. Some people develop the feeling that too much happiness may somehow invite disappointment, loss, or danger. So they dampen it. You get a promotion, so instead of I did this, you say, let's see how it goes. Someone compliments you and you say, oh no, no, it was nothing. Something lovely happens and you immediately remind yourself of everything that isn't lovely. Almost as if you must balance the emotional books. Too much happiness has entered the account, so quickly add some worry. Because maybe happiness feels irresponsible. There is another version of this. So you're resting, but someone you love is struggling, and immediately your enjoyment feels wrong. Like, how can I be happy when they are unhappy? You buy yourself something and then feel guilty. You have an easier day than somebody else and almost want to apologize for it. You say no to helping someone because you're exhausted and then spend your entire evening feeling guilty about protecting the evening. Especially for people who have spent years looking after others, happiness can feel almost selfish. Because somewhere inside there is an old equation. A good woman gives, a good daughter adjusts, a good partner understands, a good mother sacrifices, a good employee doesn't complain, a good friend is always there. And eventually, the question becomes there for everyone except whom? Except yourself. There is nothing wrong with sacrifice. Some of the most meaningful things we do involve sacrifice. The problem is when sacrifice is no longer a choice, when it becomes the price you believe you have to pay to deserve love. And perhaps now your body has been listening to all of this more closely than you realize. So just notice it. No big exercise. Notice your jaw, if you're holding it tightly. Notice your shoulders. Just relax and your hands. You don't need to hold anything right now. No one's mood, no one's expectation, no unfinished conversation. Just let the hands rest and take a normal breath. Not because you're trying to become calm, just because there is nowhere urgent to do during this particular breathing practice. Now, this is an interesting part. So, how do you know if you're living by the good girl rules? Try noticing the sentences that appear automatically in your mind. Maybe, I don't want to be difficult. I don't want them to think badly of me. It's easier if I just do it. Oh, it's not a big deal. Other people have it worse. Maybe I am being selfish. I should be grateful. I shouldn't feel angry. I should be able to handle this. The word should is often very interesting. Not always wrong, but interesting. Who decided this particular should? Where did you learn it? Does it still make sense? Would you expect the same thing from somebody you love? Suppose your closest friend is exhausted and someone asks her for one more favor. She says, "No, I'm sorry, I can't today." Would you think what a terrible human being? Probably not. You might think, good, she needs rest. But when you say the same sentence, suddenly this Supreme Court of morality is in session and you penalize yourself. Just think why. It's so difficult to be kind to yourself. And this is where a very useful question comes, and that is, am I being kind or am I trying to prevent disapproval? This is one of the most useful distinctions you can practice. You agree to something. Would I still choose to do this if I knew the other person wouldn't be angry if I said no? If yes, wonderful. That's generosity. If no, perhaps this is fear wearing kindness clothes. You don't have to stop helping people. You don't have to become harsh. Boundaries don't require becoming a person who says, not my problem, to everybody while dramatically closing doors. Sometimes a boundary is simply, I can't do that today. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Or I need some time to think. Or just that doesn't work for me. I would prefer something else. And no. No is a very small word. Strange how heavy it can feel. So start with tiny disappointments. If you have spent years pleasing everyone, don't begin by changing your entire personality on Tuesday morning. Practice small things. Someone asks, where do you want to eat? Instead of anywhere is fine, choose somewhere. Revolutionary. Someone says, do you mind if we change the time? And you actually do mind. So try, could we keep the original time? Someone asks for a favor, instead of immediately saying yes, say, let me check and come back to you. That sentence creates something many people pleasers never give themselves: time. Time to find out what you actually want before somebody else's presence becomes your decision. And then notice what happens. Maybe someone is mildly disappointed. And then life continues. The relationship survives. The ceiling does not collapse. And nobody arrives to revoke your good person certificate. And this is how the nervous system learns, not from being told you're allowed to have boundaries, but from actually having one and discovering that you can survive another person's disappointment. And you are allowed to be misunderstood sometimes. This one is harder. If your peace depends on everyone understanding your intentions, you will spend a lot of time explaining yourself. You say no, then explain for 10 minutes why you said no. Then send another message because perhaps the first explanation sounded rude. Then reassure them, then reassure yourself, and at some point, the boundary becomes an apology. You can be a kind person, and somebody may still think you were selfish. You can make the best decision available, and somebody may disagree. You can speak carefully and still be misunderstood. That is uncomfortable, but freedom contains a little discomfort. There is no version of life where you are fully yourself and universally approved. Those two products do not come in the same package, trust me. And next is, what about the constant self criticism? Maybe you have already made the mistake. You said something awkward, missed a deadline, forgot someone's birthday, lost your patience, made the wrong decision. And now your internal voice says, how could you? You're so stupid. You always do this. We often believe being harsh with ourselves will keep us responsible. If I'm gentle with myself, maybe I'll become lazy. Maybe I'll stop improving. But being compassionate towards yourself doesn't mean pretending you did nothing wrong. Imagine someone you deeply respect saying, that wasn't your best moment. You should repair it. But one mistake doesn't make you a terrible person. That is very different from you're awful. One creates responsibility, the other creates shame. And shame is not always a particularly efficient teacher. So try changing what's wrong with me to what happened here? What do I need to repair? What can I learn? Then stop. You do not need to punish yourself for another 6 hours to prove that you have understood the lesson. And the most important thing here, try speaking to yourself in the voice you would use with someone you love. This sounds almost too simple, but try it. You make a mistake. Imagine your closest friend, someone you genuinely care about. If they had done exactly what you did, what would you say? Maybe you were tired. You shouldn't have said that, but you can apologize. I understand why you were upset. You tried. This didn't work. Let's figure out what to do next. Now notice the voice you use with yourself. Would you let another person speak to somebody you love that way? If not, perhaps the problem isn't that you need thicker skin. Perhaps your voice needs editing. Learning to tolerate happiness. And now we come back to happiness. How do you stop being afraid of it? Not by forcing yourself to be positive, of course. Please don't stand in front of the mirror tomorrow chanting all the, what do we call it nowadays? Affirmation. I am abundant, I am joy. I don't believe on those unless you genuinely enjoy doing that. So start smaller. Something good happens. Notice the instinct to reduce it. This probably won't last. Don't argue, just try adding, maybe, but it is good right now. That sentence doesn't promise forever. It doesn't tempt fate. It doesn't deny reality. Something good can be temporary and still be good. A lovely afternoon does not become meaningless because Monday exists. A relationship doesn't have to be guaranteed for 50 years before today's tenderness becomes real. You don't need proof that nothing bad will ever happen again before you're allowed to enjoy what is happening now. So let's let joy remain unproductive. This might be particularly difficult. Do something with no improvement attached to it. Not exercise because it's healthy, not reading because it's educational, not cooking because the family needs dinner, something simply because you like it. For example, 10 minutes, a tea in the sun, music, flowers, prayers, sitting somewhere beautiful, drawing badly, reading something completely useless, and resist the urge to justify it. You don't have to say, this helps my mental health, this improves creativity, this will make me more productive later. Maybe it will, who cares? Perhaps enjoyment is allowed to exist without submitting an annual performance report. And ask yourself, what would I want if nobody were disappointed? This can be an uncomfortable question. You don't have to answer it for your whole life. Start with something very small. If nobody would be offended, what would I choose this weekend? If nobody judged me, what would I wear? If nobody thought I was lazy, how would I rest? If nobody needed an explanation, what would I say no to? If nobody praised me for being strong, where would I admit I am tired? Sometimes you won't know, and that's okay. When you have spent years listening outward, your own voice may initially be quiet. So, quiet doesn't mean absent, just give it some time. And before bed, stop reviewing yourself. This is especially important at night. Many self critical people go to bed and immediately review the day. Why did I say that? I should have done more. Oh, I didn't exercise. I didn't finish that. I wasted time. I wasn't patient enough. Tomorrow I need to, and the list goes on. Bedtime becomes an employee evaluation. No wonder your nervous system isn't thrilled. So try replacing the nightly performance review with three gentler questions. What did I do today that was enough? What can wait until tomorrow? And what was one thing I enjoyed without needing to earn it? Maybe the answer is tiny: a cup of coffee, the sunlight, a joke, clean sheets, a 15-minute nap. That's enough. You're teaching your attention that the day contained more than shortcomings. Maybe the deepest fear isn't happiness. Maybe sometimes what we fear isn't happiness itself. Maybe we fear what happiness asks us to surrender: control, hyper awareness, preparation. If I stop worrying, will I miss something? If I relax, will something catch me by surprise? If I'm happy, will it hurt more when I lose it? So you remain slightly guarded just in case. But think about the cost. If you refuse to enjoy something because it might end, you experience its ending twice: once before it has happened, and again if it actually does. You do not protect yourself from grief by refusing joy. You simply make joy smaller. This is such a good learning for myself. There is courage in enjoying something you cannot guarantee. This person is here today. I love them today. This home feels safe tonight. This meal tastes good. This work mattered. This moment is peaceful. I do not need a contract with the future before I acknowledge the present. And you don't have to stop being a good person. This isn't about becoming selfish. You don't have to turn into somebody who never compromises or never helps or says whatever they want without considering anyone else. Kindness is beautiful. Generosity is beautiful. Being thoughtful is beautiful. The difference is, can kindness include you? Can being a good daughter include having your own opinion? Can being a good partner include saying that hurt me? Can being a good friend include I can talk tonight? Can being a good woman include being angry sometimes? Changing your mind, wanting more, wanting less, being happy even when someone else does not fully understand your choices. Maybe being good was never supposed to mean disappearing. And tonight, you don't need to perform goodness at all. There is nobody you need to please during sleep. Sleep is perhaps one of the few places where you become completely useless to everyone. And I mean that lovingly. You cannot answer email while you're sleeping. You cannot solve anyone's problem. You cannot look after somebody's mood. You cannot impress anyone. You cannot be productive for several hours. Your only job is to exist. And your body quietly repairs itself while you do absolutely nothing impressive. Maybe there is something beautiful about that. You don't have to earn those hours. So perhaps for tonight, let the good girl rest. The one who remembers everything, the one who notices everyone's mood, the one who apologizes quickly, the one who tries to do everything correctly, and the one who makes herself smaller when someone else needs more room. She has worked long enough today. You don't need to get rid of that. Maybe she helped you survive difficult rooms. Maybe she helped you belong. Maybe she helped you become thoughtful and capable and caring. You can thank her without letting her work all night. So tell her you can sleep now. Nobody needs anything from us at this moment. Nothing bad has to happen simply because something feels good. You don't have to prepare for sadness while happiness is still sitting beside you. And you don't have to inspect peace for hidden danger. For this moment, peace can simply be peace. Maybe there is something good in your life right now. Don't search too hard. Something small, a person, a place, your bed, a cup of tea you enjoyed, something you're looking forward to. Perhaps simply the fact that today is finished. Notice the instinct to add a warning. Yes, but and for once. Don't finish the sentence. Let the good thing remain alone. No qualification, no prediction, no guilt. Maybe that's how we practice happiness. Not by becoming fearless, but by allowing small moments of goodness to exist without immediately asking them how long they intend to stay. And if tomorrow someone is disappointed in you, perhaps you can survive that. If you make a mistake, perhaps you can repair it without becoming your own enemy. And if someone misunderstands you, perhaps you don't need to rewrite yourself until they approve. If you enjoy something, perhaps enjoyment itself is enough. You can be kind without being endlessly available. You can love people without managing all of their emotions. You can be responsible without being perfect. And you can be a good person without always being a good girl. Now let those words go too. You don't need to remember them. Your body only needs rest. So close your eyes and notice the darkness behind your eyelids, the weight of your head, the quiet rise and fall of your chest. You have done enough. And enough is a very peaceful word. Nothing to prove, nothing to please, nothing to correct, nothing to anticipate. And for the next few hours, you're allowed to simply be here. Good night.